and Tony.
We're back. You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. Our guest in the second hour is Jan Bergman, who's president of Cyber Citizens for Justice. Before we get back to our discussion with Jan, I'd like to remind our listeners in the second hour we have a free subscription, a bi-monthly newsletter called What's New. In it, you'll find it to be a great resource. A lot of the topics we cover in further detail in that newsletter. It's yours free for the asking. Give us a call at New Concepts during the week at 952-922-2500. Ask for Courtney to make sure you start receiving your subscription. Over 18,000 subscribers to that newsletter now.
And if you have an opinion about our topics today, homeowner advocacy for homeowners associations, please give us a call, 651-289-4488, and tell us what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And for folks just joining us, our topic today is we're talking about this organization called Cyber Citizens for Justice. Mr. Jan Bergman, who's the president, is on the line with us. And we've been talking a little bit at first here about some of the frustration living in a homeowner association. And part of that now, especially that's being seen in Florida because of a lot of vacant homes. People are having a hard time now as this collection of homeowners being able to pay for all of their obligations. And I asked the question, or Tony, I think did, Jan, that are you saying that we need to abolish homeowner associations altogether? And you said no to that?
Well, I say no to that because that is not feasible. It's
sure.
Not possible because, over the last 20 years there were a lot of amenities built and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to protect the owners living in these associations. And, I mean, you had a guest from Texas just before me. And if you go to California, Arizona, Texas, you name it, all the southern states have serious problems. I am in contact with advocacy groups in all these states,
mm-hmm.
and they will tell you the same story. The problem is that not everybody is equal in these associations. Because where in the world can it be that somebody uses your money to sue you? That is only possible in a community association. They use your dues to sue you as the owner. And in the end, they levy special assessments. You're fighting deep pockets.
Well, you're making it sound as if that this is just an indiscriminatory thing that takes place where someone says, "I don't like you, I'm going to sue you." I think the only thing that we're talking about is there is inherent in an association an obligation, is there not, Jan, for everyone to meet their obligations so that the association as a whole can meet their obligations with the services that need to be provided?
Well, that is fine, but that is not the way it works in daily life. You know as much as I do that there are groups in these associations that there are friends of the board and there are non-friends of the board. We see daily frivolous lawsuits filed up the Yahoo.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you that there's frivolous lawsuits, but that has to do, I think, just with the arrogance of people as a whole, not wanting to back down. I mean, that's just human nature. Whether you're in a homeowners association or not, I know that there are frivolous lawsuits that take place all the time and waste our court system and the time of a lot of people. I don't know that that's inherent to homeowner associations.
Well, I can tell you one thing. A judge who retired here in Florida and who dealt a lot with homeowners association issues said to me at one time, he said, "Look, the whole system can't work. In former times, neighbors fought with branches hanging over the fence, about the dog barking, about the kids having the ghetto blaster on so loud."
Okay.
These kind of things. We had the neighbors in the courtroom, we gave them good brainwashing and told them that's not the way it works, told them to shake hands and go home.
Okay.
And life is fine again. He said nowadays, these same people show up with fancy attorneys in Armani suits, which charge $300 and $400 and $500 an hour. They fight over it for 4 years. They cost a lot of money, and in the end, they hate each other's guts. That's the difference between former times where neighbors were fighting neighbors and today where associations are fighting neighbors.
You're really agreeing with Gene, I think, and that is that times have changed and there's more litigation going on everywhere. What I would like to hear about, Jan, is how, let's say, the AARP Bill of Rights, or how more legislation, or how a state ombudsman will help resolve the fact that neighbors don't get along.
Well, what is needed, since so many millions of people are more or less forced into these associations, because don't start me with, they have the choice. Here in Florida, you don't have a choice. Anything what was built in the last 10 years is in an association.
Well, I guess I would still differ with you, Jan. People have a choice. If they don't like that, and if that's that important to them, then why move to Florida then, if you're saying that that's all there is? I don't know about you. I mean, my younger sister has some really bad allergies, and so there's a lot of places she'd love to live, but she ended up living out in Colorado because that would be better for her health. That's the way it is. That may not be her first pick, but that's where she is. So why not the same for homeowners here too?
Nobody is moving to Florida anymore. Since 2 years, we lose population here in Florida because, don't forget, we are the state with the oldest average population, meaning people die a lot. We relied on newcomers who wanted to move in the Sunshine State and live here for their retirement. That has stopped. And that is why we have all these things. And one of the reasons it has stopped is because of the ugly headlines about community associations.
So I want to go back to my question: is how will new legislation or new advocacy and new rights help resolve the problem for Florida?
Well, first of all, it has to be regulated. There have to be enforcement of the laws. We have books full of laws which nobody enforces. The people in charge laugh over it. The law firms, the CAI, makes big bucks out of it.
Well, CAI is not a law firm.
No, but don't forget, there's a trade organization for the service providers.
Sure, and they make their money from memberships, right?
Yes, but look at the membership.
Okay.
The membership are attorneys, insurance people, community association managers, bankers and mortgage companies, and you name it. All the people, developers, all the people who make money out of these associations. Yes, there are a few board members, you will always have them, but nevertheless, the main push power behind the CAI is clearly are the service providers. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, well, let's get back. I want to get back on issue here. You said that there needs to be further regulation. You said there's all these laws on the books. So if that's the case, perhaps we don't need more regulation. Part of the reason things aren't enforced is because we've got too much of the same thing being said over and over again. You said there needs to be enforcement. So if things are going to be enforced, if things are that bad, Jan, then who is the person? Who is the organization? Who are the people that are going to be the enforcers to make sure that everything's going to be running great?
Well, the government, because the government created these things.
Oh, wait a minute. You just said the government created these things. And if the government created these things, meaning associations and you don't like the way they're run, why do you want them run then by the people that created them? I'm not following you, sir.
Okay, let's explain it. See, the community associations were created by developers, by service providers, and all that. They are the ones behind the laws we're seeing today in books. See, in Tallahassee, you can't, for example, get a law passed about HOAs if you're not asking the developer lobbyists first. But that's beside the point. The point is very clearly the government allowed this to happen. They passed the laws. You know, neither the attorneys nor the developers passed the laws that created these associations. But they should have proper enforcement. Why passing laws if I don't want to enforce them?
Okay. Well, I want to explore this a little bit further. We're coming up to another break. If you're just joining us, we're talking with the president for Cyber Citizens for Justice, Mr. Jan Bergman. We're talking about some of the problems inherent in homeowner associations and how do you fix some of the issues and difficulties that folks have just dealing, and I think it's just in life. We want to hear from you, too. We want to hear from Mr. Bergman more on the topic, where we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot.